Yarry mates, how's it going? Me? Just do me ignite talk like, why I man, it's gotta be purely belter. Huh? So I'm English. I was born in England, raised in England, and I've got an English accent, although it's not one of the ones from Harry Potter. But since moving to America, I feel like I've been failing at speaking English. So about once per week, I'm speaking to somebody for the first time, usually in a restaurant, and they'll look at me with the shocked Pikachu face. Huh? They have no idea what I've said, and it often leads to misunderstandings. So I'll give an example. I went to a pizza place recently, and I asked for a side of ranch. Well, I should have said side of ranch, but I instead said cider ranch. Cider ranch. So a moment later, the waitress came over and handed me a pint of apple cider. Cider ranch. Yeah, so this is my problem. I'm speaking English, I am English, but, my English just clearly isn't good enough. So what is the solution? Well, my vocabulary, I've already changed that. I could change my accent too, and I could just pretend to be American. I could pretend to be a Southern gentleman. The type of gentleman that says, I do declare a lot. But I do declare that this ain't gonna work. You see, with this solution and pretty much any solution, it's gonna involve sanding down the bits of me that make me me. Language and how we speak is a massive part of who we are. And, I just don't want to lose that about myself. So I'm going to give another example. When I say TH words, I tend to replace the TH with an F sound. So I'll say thought or think or boffle. And, that wasn't a funny part. So even this leads to misunderstandings. So last year I went to a concert, sat down next to this lovely woman, and she asked, where are you from? And I said, I live in Bothell. But she thought I said Buffalo. So I had to spend the entire night talking about buffalo wings. And to make matters worse, if I say thank you a little too quickly, it sounds like I'm saying fuck you. Okay, so this all sounds funny, but when it's your weekly existence, it's just miserable. When these misunderstandings happen, I just get overwhelmed with shame, and I just think, I'm English. Why is my English not good enough? And at this point, I don't know, should I have speech therapy or just therapy? I don't know. So speaking of therapy, when I go home and I speak to my dad says, you're starting to sound like an American. But really what he's saying is, you don't belong here anymore. You're no longer English. But, in America, the idea of me sounding like an American, it's just ridiculous. The question I hear most often, just like at the concert, is, where are you from? And really, when you ask that question, you're saying to people, you're clearly not from here, you don't belong here. So I'm kind of stuck between two worlds. I don't belong in England, I don't belong in America, and you know what? It sucks. All right, if you're anything like me right now, you're probably thinking, well, boo-hoo! English white dude doesn't belong. Who cares? And you know what? You're right. I'm incredibly privileged as an immigrant. I think the English are one of the few groups where, people have positive stereotypes about us. And I didn't have to learn English as a second language. I changed my vocabulary, and I, spoke a little slower for you all. But that's it. The pain and the hurt that I've gone through as an immigrant is just minuscule compared to the pain, hurt, and hate that a lot of other immigrants have had to deal with. But I do think there's a way, to alleviate just a tiny bit of that pain. We speak a lot about belonging nowadays, and if we want people to belong, we just have to admit there are going to be mispronunciations, there are going to be misunderstandings, and in my case, there's going to be another misanthrope around. I would much rather live in a world with 1,000 mispronunciations than 1,000 people who sound exactly the same. Fuck you.